Anti-Zionist Antisemitism. Until the Holocaust, enemies of the Jews, whether pagan, Christian, Muslim, men of the Enlightenment, leftist or Nazi, proudly and publicly espoused their Jew hatred. With the revelations of the Nazi crimes, it became taboo to call oneself an opponent of the Jews, and so, for the first time in history, most antisemites denied that they were antisemites. In fact, post-Holocaust antisemites have often gone further and insisted that they actually like Jews. Soviet leaders, for example, heads of one of the most anti-Semitic governments and societies in the world, not only denied being anti-Semitic, they actually boasted of being the only society to have actually eliminated anti-Semitism. The USSR also claimed to be the only country to have outlawed anti-Semitism in its constitution, an act initiated by the well-known patron of the Jews, Joseph Stalin. Similarly, many of the Arabs whose proclaimed policy is to destroy the Jewish state virulently deny being anti-Semitic. If one were to take such people at their word, there are almost no more anti-Semites on earth. Since the revelations of the Holocaust, the most hated people in history no longer have enemies. Clearly, only a change in rhetoric has taken place among anti-Semites. Hitler and Eichmann rendered the term anti-Semite almost universally ugly and therefore unusable, at least for the time being. Those who, prior to the Holocaust, would have called themselves, and certainly would have been called by others, anti-Semites, now utilize the term anti-Zionist. Thus, the Soviets, when they jailed Jews for Jewish activities, claimed to be only anti-Zionist, and those who seek to destroy the Jewish state and deny the Jews their national identity likewise call themselves only anti-Zionist. They deny hating all Jews, only those Jews who insist upon retaining their Jewish national beliefs and a Jewish state. The Jews have always been both a nation and a religion, but to legitimize their denial of the Jews' right to Israel, anti-Zionists deny that the Jews are a nation or a people, and assert that they are members only of a religion. A typical such denial of Jewish peoplehood is this statement from the Charter of the Palestine Liberation Organization. Judaism, in its character as a religion, is not a nationality with an independent existence. Likewise, the Jews are not one people. Article 20 of the Palestine National Covenant. Yet this claim of anti-Zionists that they do not hate all Jews is not new to anti-Zionists. Virtually all modern anti-Semites have claimed that they oppose only Jews who affirm Jewish nationhood. Only Hitler and the Nazis, among modern anti-Semites, have hated all Jews. Unless the Nazis are to be considered the only anti-Semites in modern history, anti-Zionists are as anti-Semitic as every other type of anti-Semite. Like all other anti-Semites, anti-Zionists are at war with nearly every identifying Jew. Anti-Zionism is unique in only one way. It is the first form of Jew hatred to deny that it hates Jews. Accordingly, any discussion of anti-Zionism must begin by explaining why it is anti-Semitism. Anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism in theory. Can someone deny that Italians are a nation and work to destroy Italy, and all the while claim that he is not an enemy of the Italian people because he does not hate all Italians? The question is obviously absurd. If you deny Italian nationhood and any Italian rights to their homeland, and seek to destroy Italy, no matter how sincerely you may claim to love some Italians, you are an enemy of the Italian people. The same holds true for those who deny Jewish nationhood and the Jews' right to their state, and who advocate the destruction of Israel. Such people are enemies of the Jewish people, and the term for their attitudes, even when espoused by people who sincerely like some Jews, is anti-Semitism. An anti-Zionist would likely respond that the analogy between Italy and Israel is invalid, because Italian has meaning as a nationality, while Judaism has meaning only as a religion. And since Judaism is only a religion, and Zionism is a national movement, one can oppose Zionism without being an enemy of the Jews or Judaism. In addition to reasons already presented, this argument is false on 4 scores. First, it makes the extraordinary assumption that non-Jews can tell Jews what it means to be Jewish. As a prominent Orthodox Jewish theologian, Rabbi Emanuel Rachman wrote, "I am a Jew and a Zionist. For me, the 2 commitments are one. Furthermore, I hold this to be the position of historic Judaism. I must firmly ask non-Jews to respect my religious convictions as I see them, and not as they see them." Throughout its long history, Judaism has held that Jewish nationhood is, along with God and Torah and chosenness, a pillar of Judaism. In the words of an ancient Jewish text, God, Torah, and Israel are one. The Jews' self-definition as a nation with a homeland in Israel is not some new political belief of contemporary Jews, but the essence of Judaism since biblical times. Second, the contention that anti-Zionists are not enemies of the Jews, despite their advocacy of policies that would lead to the mass murder of Jews, is, to put it as generously as possible, disingenuous. If anti-Zionism succeeded in its goal of destroying Israel, nearly all of Israel's more than 6 million Jews, plus an untold number of non-Israeli Jews, would die in their effort to maintain Israel. Both the Israelis and their Arab enemies know this. Arab leaders, some Western-oriented propaganda notwithstanding, have repeatedly called for the destruction of the Jews in Israel during a war with Israel. The Israelis, for their part, would fight to the last, both to keep Israel alive and because they have reason to believe that death is a preferable fate to capture by their Arab enemies. In the words of the Israeli leftist writer Amos Kenan, written in the aftermath of the Six-Day War, Shukeri, the head of the Palestine Liberation Organization before Yasser Arafat, used to say that the Jews should be driven into the sea. After the 1967 defeat, it became apparent that a slogan of this sort was not good public relations for the Arab cause. So today, only the Zionists are to be thrown into the sea. The only trouble is that when the Arabs get through pushing all the Zionists into the sea, there won't be a Jew left in Israel. For not a single Jew in Israel will agree to less than political and national sovereignty. Given, then, that if anti-Zionism realized its goal, another Jewish Holocaust would take place, attempts to draw distinctions between anti-Zionism and antisemitism are simply meant to fool the naive. Third, it was possible before the establishment of Israel in 1948 to oppose the Zionist movement and not be an enemy of the Jews, just as prior to 1776 one could have opposed American statehood without being an enemy of Americans. Once the United States was established, however, anyone advocating its destruction would obviously be considered an enemy of Americans. So, too, once Israel was established, anyone advocating its destruction is an enemy of the Jews. Fourth, anti-Zionists would be hard put to find any affirmatively identifying Jew who would not view them as mortal enemies. Studies and opinion polls have shown that over 95% of American Jewry identifies with the right of Jews to the Jewish state. For the overwhelming majority of religious Jews, as we have seen, Israel and Jewish nationhood are part of their religious creed. An anti-Zionist is therefore an enemy of religious Jews. As for secular Jews, anti-Zionists oppose the one aspect of Judaism that they most affirm, Israel.